I came home from closing a $2.4 million deal to find my father standing in my kitchen, barefoot, drinking orange juice from my glass, while my sister's kids chased each other through the hallway like they'd lived there forever. If you like real-life betrayal stories where family crosses lines they can't uncross, subscribe, because sometimes survival means playing smarter than blood. The first thing I noticed was the smell. Not my citrus candle, not the clean, expensive nothingness I paid for. It smelled like fried oil, crayons, and cheap laundry detergent. The second thing I noticed was the shoes, tiny sneakers scattered by the stairs. I didn't own tiny sneakers. Then I heard laughter, high-pitched, wild, comfortable, the kind of laughter people only make when they feel at home. My stomach dropped before my brain caught up. I stepped into the living room slowly. A toy truck rolled across my marble floor, then another, and then, "Tag, you're it!" 2 kids ran past me, didn't even look at me, didn't even notice me. Because why would they? To them, this was their house. "Close the door, Cam." My dad's voice came from the kitchen like this was just another Tuesday, like I hadn't just walked into a home invasion. I turned toward the sound. He stood there, relaxed, barefoot, leaning against my quartz island, drinking from my glass. Behind him, my sister Lila was unpacking groceries like she'd just come back from Costco after work. My brain went silent. Not angry, not loud, just cold. "What is this?" I asked. Lila didn't stop unpacking. "Hey," she said casually, "we were wondering when you'd be back." We. My jaw tightened. My dad wiped his mouth with the back of his hand. "Lila and the kids are staying here for a bit." For a bit. Like he was talking about a weekend visit, not explaining why strangers were running laps in my hallway. "Dad," I said slowly, "why are they in my house?" Lila sighed like I was being dramatic. "Because we didn't have anywhere else to go, obviously." Obviously? I looked around. My couch now covered in cartoon backpacks. My dining table buried under school books. My walls, crayon streaks, bright red. I swallowed. "You broke in," I said. My dad frowned like I'd insulted him. "I didn't break in," he snapped. "I used the emergency key you gave me." Emergency. Right, like a fire or a medical crisis, not a full-scale relocation. "When?" I asked. 3 days ago. 3 days. They'd been living here for 3 days, sleeping, eating, moving in, without telling me. Lila leaned against my counter. "Relax," she said. "You weren't even in town." "I was gone for work," I said. "Exactly." Exactly. That word echoed. My dad stepped forward like he was explaining something to a child. Lila's landlord kicked them out. Ryan's hours got cut again. They were going to be living out of their car. And there it was, the moral trap, the setup, the emotional hostage situation. I looked at Lila. She didn't look ashamed. She looked settled, safe, comfortable, like this had always been the plan. "You could have asked," I said. My dad's face hardened. "And what?" he shot back. "Risk you saying no?" Honesty. Brutal. Unapologetic. Lila crossed her arms. "You have 4 bedrooms. It's just you." There it was. The math. Space equals obligation. Success equals availability. Silence stretched. Behind us, one of the kids knocked over a lamp. Glass shattered. Nobody reacted. Except me. "Everyone needs to leave," I said. The words came out calm, flat, dead. My dad's expression shifted instantly. Disappointment, hurt, judgment. "Seriously?" he asked. "You'd throw your own nieces out?" I didn't answer, because that wasn't the question. This wasn't about kids. This was about permission, control, ownership. Lila scoffed. "You're unbelievable," she said, "after everything this family's done for you." Everything. The guilt grenade. I walked to the window, looked out at my driveway, my car, still mine for now. Inside, I heard cabinets opening, drawers moving, the sound of someone living. "I need you out," I repeated. My dad shook his head slowly. "No," he said. "Just that. No, not loud, not angry, just final. We've already enrolled the kids in school, he added. They start Monday. Today was Friday. That meant this wasn't temporary. This was a takeover, a finished decision, a reality built before I could object. Lila smiled faintly. We're not asking you to pay for anything, she said. We just need the space. Just the space. My space. I turned back toward them, my pulse steady now, my thoughts lining up. My father looked at me like he expected surrender, like he'd already won. And in a way, he had, because the second he moved kids into this house, he turned eviction into cruelty, into optics, into something ugly, something that would make me the villain. I exhaled slowly. I agree, I said. Lila blinked. My dad straightened. I can't put the kids out, I continued. Relief flooded his face. Victory. Warm. Certain. I knew you'd do the right thing, he said, but I held up a hand. If you're staying, I need this to be official. Lila frowned. What do you mean? I stepped toward the counter, opened my laptop. If people live here long term, liability becomes an issue. Insurance, taxes, legal exposure. My dad waved a hand dismissively. Don't make this complicated. I'm simplifying it, I replied. I looked at Lila. You can stay as my live-in property manager. Her eyebrows lifted. Property what? She asked. You handle basic upkeep, maintenance calls, security oversight, and in return, she asked, room, utilities, and full employment benefits through my consulting firm. Silence. Then, Ryan, who'd been hiding in the hallway, stepped in. Benefits? Hook set. Lila looked between us. Health? She asked. Medical, dental, vision, I said smoothly. Her eyes lit up. Because I knew my sister, and nothing motivates desperation like security. I just need you to sign an agreement. Standard, routine, formal, legal. Lila hesitated, but greed was louder than suspicion. Okay, she said, and I smiled. Not warmly, not kindly, just enough, because they thought they had taken my house. But they didn't realize yet they had just stepped into my system, and I was very, very good at building exits.
Layla didn't read the agreement. She skimmed. That was always her style. Fast decisions, shallow checks, confident assumptions. Where do I sign? She asked. My dad looked proud, like he'd brokered peace, like he'd solved a crisis, like he hadn't just kicked open the door to something he didn't understand. I slid the document toward her. 8 pages. Clean. Professional. Harmless looking. Initial here, here, and here, I said. Ryan leaned over her shoulder. This doesn't say rent, he said. Because it's not a lease, I replied. Layla's pen paused. What is it then? An employment-based housing agreement. Her eyes moved across the page again, slower this time. And if I quit? You'd just lose the role, I said. Technically true, just not the full truth. My dad cleared his throat. This is unnecessary, he muttered. No, I said calmly. It's protection. He didn't ask who it protected. Layla signed. 1 page, then the next, her name looping across each line. By the time she finished, she looked relieved. Ryan looked satisfied. My dad looked victorious, like they'd locked in permanence. I signed last, and just like that, the relationship changed. They weren't family guests anymore. They were conditional occupants, employees, temporary, revocable, invisible. Done, I said, sliding the papers back into a folder. Layla smiled. It feels official. It was, just not in the way she thought. That night, I didn't sleep in the house. I booked a hotel 10 minutes away, not because I had to, because I wanted distance, perspective, control. From the room, I opened the home system app. Every camera came online. Living room, kitchen, hallway, garage, backyard. All legal, all authorized, all signed. The first thing I saw was Layla opening wine. The second thing I saw was Ryan dragging my office chair into the living room. The third, one of the kids jumping on my couch with a juice box. Red, sticky, permanent. My jaw tightened, but I kept watching. because information always beats emotion. And within an hour, they gave me everything. Ryan lit a cigarette in the kitchen, under the smoke detector. Layla didn't stop him. She laughed. "Relax," she said. "It's her house, not a museum." He ashed into my sink. I said nothing, just recorded. Later, my dad arrived, with more boxes, more furniture, more permanence. He brought a dresser, a crib, a standing lamp. They weren't settling in, they were planting roots. Then I heard it, Layla's voice, low, sharp, certain. "She won't kick us out," she told Ryan. "Why not?" he asked. "Because she cares too much about looking like the good one." Pause. "She owes us," Layla added. That word again, owes. I muted the feed, sat back, and finally understood. This wasn't desperation. This was expectation. They didn't feel lucky. They felt entitled. And entitlement is dangerous because it doesn't negotiate, it consumes. At 9:12 p.m., Layla went to the mailbox, came back with a stack of envelopes, thick ones, official ones. She didn't open them. She didn't even bring them inside properly. She checked the hallway, checked the living room, then slid them into a cereal box in the pantry, hidden, deliberate. My interest sharpened. People hide threats, not junk mail. I zoomed in on the next feed, paused the frame, enhanced the image. The top envelope had a law firm's logo, bold, unfriendly, collections. I pulled up the employment file. Clause 11, background verification consent. Signed, authorized, immediate. Within minutes, I initiated the check. The report came back fast, and it was worse than I expected. 2 prior evictions, a default judgment, outstanding damages, and an active civil claim. Layla hadn't just lost housing, she'd run from it, avoided service, disappeared, and now she was hiding in my home. At 10:03 p.m., Ryan opened my locked office. He shouldn't have had access, but my dad had found the spare key. Inside, they moved things, files, equipment, boxes. "Sell anything valuable," Ryan muttered. Layla didn't argue. She nodded. That was the moment. Not the crayon on the wall, not the smoking, not the entitlement. That. Because need becomes theft the second it stops asking. I opened my laptop, drafted a notice, short, direct, professional. Employment terminated, housing privilege revoked, vacate within 2 hours. I sent it. Email, text, portal, redundant, documented. Then I waited. At first, Layla laughed, on camera. Ryan laughed harder. "They can't do that," he said. "She needs a court," Layla replied. But she was wrong, because tenants require eviction, employees require termination, and she had signed. 15 minutes later, I shut off the Wi-Fi. 20 minutes later, climate dropped to minimum. 30 minutes later, security alerts began. Doors locking, lights pulsing, systems shifting. Panic followed. Ryan cursed. Kids cried. Layla yelled. My dad arrived again, angrier this time, but anger doesn't override contracts, and reality doesn't bend to assumptions. Then the doorbell rang. A process server stood outside, holding papers, not mine, theirs. Because I made one call to the law firm on that envelope and provided one detail, their current address. Silence filled the living room as Layla read the documents. Fear replaced confidence. Understanding replaced entitlement. Because hiding only works until someone gives your location away. And tonight, that someone was me.
Layla didn't scream. She didn't throw anything. She didn't collapse. She just stopped moving, like someone had pulled the power cord out of her. Ryan grabbed the papers from her. "What is this?" he demanded. "Service of process, court date, outstanding damages, collection enforcement. The past, catching up in real time." "You gave them our address?" he asked. Layla didn't answer, because she didn't know yet. But she was starting to suspect, and suspicion is louder than truth. My dad stepped forward. "What's going on?" he asked. Ryan handed him the packet. His face darkened as he read. "This is harassment," he snapped. It wasn't. It was math. Consequences plus location equals enforcement. Layla looked toward the ceiling, toward the camera she didn't know existed. Her voice came out quiet. She did this. Ryan's panic kicked in. "We need to leave," he said. "Now." But leaving doesn't erase paperwork. It only changes where it follows you. My dad tried to regain control. "Nobody's going anywhere," he said. "She can't throw you out." Layla turned to him. "She already did." And that was the moment. The shift from confidence to survival. The house grew colder, not just physically, emotionally. Urgency replaced comfort. The kids sensed it first. They stopped running, stopped laughing, sat close together on the couch, watching the adults fracture. Ryan started packing. Fast, messy, drawers opening, closets emptied, suitcases dragged out. Layla followed, still silent, still stunned. My dad stayed planted in the kitchen, like if he didn't move, the situation might reverse itself. Denial is powerful like that, but systems don't negotiate, and contracts don't care about emotion. At 11:07 p.m., Ryan tried the thermostat, locked. At 11:10 p.m., he tried the Wi-Fi, dead. At 11:13 p.m., the lights shifted again. Security mode escalation. Soft, rhythmic, uncomfortable. "This is insane," my dad muttered. No one responded, because they knew this wasn't chaos, this was control. And control meant planning, and planning meant intention. Layla finally spoke. "She planned this." Ryan didn't argue, because deep down they had planned too, just badly. They started calling people, friends, relatives, anyone. But desperation travels slower than paperwork, and nobody wants to volunteer for someone being chased by a judgment. Ryan's phone buzzed again. A voicemail. Another notice. Forwarded from his old landlord. The net tightening. Layla sat down hard on my couch. Her voice cracked. "She wouldn't do this," she whispered. But she knew I would, because she knew what she had done. The mailbox, the office, the plan to sell. Intent changes everything. My dad finally exploded. "This is your sister," he shouted, like I could hear him, like volume could undo reality, like loyalty should override legality. But family stops being sacred the moment it stops respecting boundaries, and he had crossed mine the second he used that key. At 11:32 p.m., Ryan left. No announcement, no goodbye. Just a bag, a jacket, a door. Gone. Because survival makes cowards of people who thought they were permanent. Layla watched him go. Didn't stop him. Didn't follow. Because she couldn't. Not yet. The kids were still there. And now, so was the truth. Midnight came quietly. The house felt empty already, even with everyone inside. My dad sat at the table, hands folded, staring at nothing. Layla packed slower now, mechanical, detached. Each movement an admission, each fold a retreat. At 12:18 p.m., she called someone, her voice barely audible. "I need a place," she said. Pause. "I know." Longer pause. "Tomorrow then." Tomorrow. Because tonight she had nowhere left. By 1 a.m., the living room looked like departure. Bags by the door, shoes lined up, toys gathered. The illusion of settlement gone, replaced by exit. My dad finally stood. He looked around the house, not with ownership, not with authority, but with realization. He hadn't saved Layla, he'd only delayed the crash, and in doing so, he dragged me into it. At 1:26 p.m., Layla gathered the kids, quietly, soft voices, gentle hands, no drama, no fight, just movement. The door opened, cold air rushed in, and for the first time since I came home, my house began to breathe again.
The door closed behind them at 1:31 a.m. No shouting, no last words, no dramatic scene. Just the sound of footsteps fading down the driveway, and silence taking its place. I didn't return immediately. I waited until morning, because control isn't about speed, it's about timing. By the time I stepped inside again, the house smelled like absence. Not home. Not yet. Just empty. The air felt used, heavy, like something had passed through and left residue behind.
The crayon marks were still there, the couch still stained, the office still disturbed, but the people? Gone. And that mattered more. I walked through each room slowly. The hallway, the kitchen, the guest rooms they had claimed. Each step felt like reclaiming territory. Not emotionally, structurally. Because this was never about anger. It was about ownership. And ownership had been violated. Not requested, not negotiated. Taken. The pantry still held the cereal box. I pulled it out. Inside, the envelopes Lila had hidden. Legal notices, collection demands, court summons, warnings she had avoided until avoidance ran out. She hadn't just needed shelter, she'd needed cover, and my house had been her shield, until it wasn't. By noon, the cleaners arrived. Professional, efficient, neutral. They didn't ask questions, didn't comment on the damage, didn't judge the situation. They just erased evidence. Scrubbed, polished, restored. By evening, the walls were white again. The floors were clean. The smell was mine. My dad called at 4:07 p.m. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. "You didn't have to go that far," he said. I didn't respond, because distance was the point. Not punishment, not revenge, just clarity. Lila texted later that night. One sentence. "You exposed us." I read it once, then archived it, because truth doesn't require defense, and exposure isn't cruelty, it's consequence. Ryan never contacted me again, but the system did. Notifications, updates, legal movements. The process had started, and unlike guilt, legal momentum doesn't fade with time, it compounds. A week later, I sat in my living room, quiet, restored, mine. The sun hit the floor exactly the way it used to, and for the first time since I'd walked through that door, the house felt like property again. Not obligation, not responsibility, not a backup plan for someone else's collapse. Just space. Owned, defined, protected. I understood something then. They didn't think they were stealing. They thought they were reallocating. Because in their minds, my stability was communal. My success was shared. My boundaries were negotiable. Until they weren't. The most interesting part, I never yelled, never fought, never begged, never dragged anyone out. I just changed the structure. And structure changes outcomes. By the end of the month, the civil claim against Lila moved forward. Wage garnishment pending. Rental eligibility gone. The system closed in the way it always does. Quietly, efficiently, indifferently. My dad stopped calling. Not out of anger, out of understanding. Because deep down, he knew. This wasn't a betrayal. It was a correction. The final lesson came slowly. Sitting in the restored silence, looking at the door he once unlocked without permission, I realized something simple. Family can be forgiven for mistakes, but not for entitlement. Because mistakes apologize, entitlement expects. And the moment someone expects access to your life without consent, they've already decided you're not a person, just a resource. And resources don't get boundaries. People do. They thought they had moved into my house, but what they really moved into was a system built by someone who solves problems for a living. And once they crossed the line, all I had to do was step back, let reality do its job, and reclaim what was always mine.